This is A to Z with Mark Zinno, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, where today I ask, isn't it obvious? Welcome in. We are live here on this Friday, wrapping up another week. Great to be back in the saddle with you guys as I was yesterday after the vacation, but it's so good to be back with you guys. Give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On ATL. Of course, I'm at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. Coming up later on the show, I have more fixing of college football to do. I gave you guys a great plan yesterday, and I wanted to tweak that plan a little more today because I think there's two more things that can go out there that I didn't bring up yesterday I think are worth repeating. And, of course, there's a ranking out there and a list. And, of course, you always have to be careful with lists, but it has the Falcons someplace that I don't think they are. We'll get to all that coming up on the show and more. But I want to start with Spencer Strider. It's funny because in case you haven't been following me, I signed back with 92.9 The Game, and I've been filling in this week and all of next week on the show. And I brought up what I talked about yesterday on filling in on Dukes and Bell in the afternoon about how when you start to ask the question, if the playoffs were to start tomorrow, who would be your top three in the rotation? What does that outfield platoon look like? All those questions, I think, are things you can start to ask because it's pretty bona fide right now that the Braves are going to be a playoff team, right? It's pretty bona fide that they are a team that is going to be in the postseason. So now that you can start feeling comfortable with that, you can start having a conversation about what the roster is going to look like and how things may play out. Because winning back-to-back World Series is really tough, and the entity of the playoffs is different than the regular season. So when I ask that question about who are the top three starters, I'm talking about who are the three starters that are going to get you through a divisional series, an LCS, and a World Series and win you a title, which is really, really tough. And I, for one, said to me, yesterday I said on the show that it's Kyle Wright, it's Max Fried, and it's Spencer Strider. Those are the three that I would put in the rotation right now. Now, this could change again because a lot of guys' performances could change, injuries, things of that nature. There's a lot out there that obviously could change the whole scope of this whole equation or this whole sort of conversation we're having right now. And when I said that to a couple of people, including our friend Grant McCauley, who does the Braves postcast right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, you can hear it every night. Everybody picked Charlie Morton and left Spencer Strider out. And I'm like, what? Why? Like, what are you watching? And those people are living with the Charlie Morton of last year. They are living with a Charlie Morton that was good for them last year. And I don't deny that Morton has been better since the beginning of June than he was in the previous first, 8 weeks of the season through April and May. There's no doubt about that. He's pitched better, and he looks a lot better, and he looks like the Charlie Morton last year that was a key part of this team winning World Series. However, I don't know. I don't like the stuff. I really don't. I mean, again, this is a guy that had an ERA of 7 in April. It was 4.6 in May. And then over the course of the last 2 months, it's been 3.5. And of course, he didn't give up any runs in his last start against the Reds. So, he's got a manageable 3.4 ERA, and his last 6 starts have looked really good. I'm still picking Spencer Strider. And wasn't last night evidence of that? Did you see him mow down that Cardinals lineup? Did you see him and this stuff that he has and how electric it is and how much better he is than the hitters that he's facing? All of that stuff to me is so critical. It's so crucial as to why you pick a certain guy to start. And there is one other factor that people have thrown back at me about experience. And while I understand that's important, I think there's something that trumps experience. I'll tell you what that is in a second. First, a good word from our friends at BetOnline. Of course, BetOnline.net, your number one source for all your sports betting needs and info. You guys know how much I'm into gambling, but you can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news all right there on BetOnline.net. BetOnline, your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcast news, and everything this season. BetOnline.net, the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Of course, Major League Baseball season. Last night, of course, we had Spencer Strider over 6.5 Ks. Whew. Didn't even have to sweat that one out. He had 6 Ks for the first 2 innings. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. Bet online, where the game starts. Where it starts for me with Spencer Strider is his stuff. And people can talk about experience and postseason experience and all that. When you have his stuff, you don't need postseason experience. You don't. You don't get postseason experience until you get it. And he's never had the opportunity. What's the reason to think that he's going to fail in the postseason any more than you think that Charlie Morton is going to succeed this year in the postseason? I don't get the equation. Like, it doesn't add up for me. I want the guy with electric stuff. I want the guy who has got that kind of filthiness out on the mound. I'm going to roll with that more than Charlie Morton. Crafty stuff, fine. Wily veteran who knows how to work counsel work, fine. But you're never going to be in a situation with Charlie Morton where you're facing a playoff team and he has to make 2 starts in a series, or you're facing a competent playoff team where start in and start out in the postseason that you are going to get 7 innings of no runs. That's just not. Go look at Charlie Morton's postseason career. That's not who he is. He's effective. He's good. But he ain't that. He ain't what I saw from Strider last night. I don't think there's any reason at this point in time to not believe that Spencer Strider will be one of the top 3 pitchers in this rotation come the end of September, heading into the postseason. And I am one who fully advocated, go out and get more pitching. Go out and get more pitching. Yes, I believe you need more pitching. But if you want to sell me on Strider not being one of the top 3 guys, you better go get another top flight starter. One that's more proven and better than Charlie Morton. And this isn't a knock on Morton. It's not because I don't believe that he's a good starter. I don't believe that he would be adequate in the playoffs. But I think he'd be adequate. That's about it. I don't think he'd be excellent. And what I saw last night for Strider was excellent. And that's something that you can't put in the postseason on anybody or anywhere else. That stuff only he has. And there's only a few guys in baseball who have that kind of stuff. I mean, he is just literally overpowering hitters on a routine basis. Mustache or not, Spencer Strider is my guy, and I'm going to ride it the rest of the year. And oh, by the way, speaking of betonline.net, if you'd like a free tip, go find Spencer Strider's Rookie of the Year odds. Bet it now. You probably won't be sorry. All right, coming up next, more fixing of college football and how a 4 super conference system is where we're headed. But the SEC could be losing teams if it goes the way I think. That's coming up next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta. We'll be right back.